5 Lincoln 102, Lincoln 103 and 102.
Responding to 401 parking structure, section 1 boy.
Henry 8, Henry 9. Respond to gate 437 Bravo for your dignitary detail. 3K 911 unattended 400 lower level near Carousel 4 Black Bag. GTA in progress 401 parking structure section 4 boy.
Responding to 401 parking structure, section 1 boy.
415 passenger on board aircraft.
Control 2 Franklin en route.
484 suspect is female, Hispanic, 28 years of age, blue jeans, no further.
Control 5 Frank 401 is en route.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Private Officer Beat Radio. We're glad that you have joined us and are following us, and we appreciate each and every one of you, especially all of you who have been sending us emails and updates from your area, your state, your country as it pertains to the COVID-19 virus. I'm your host, Rick McCann, founder and CEO of Private Officer International and Armor College, and we've had a lot of communication over the last 30, 40 days from all around the world, and we have members in a lot of countries, and we have a lot of followers throughout the U.S. and in many, many countries, and we're getting to hear firsthand as to how things are going, how things have escalated, and we have been very active in verifying security officer deaths as they pertain to COVID-19, as well as other on-duty deaths, as we always do. But right now we're working extra hard to verify and document the illness of our frontline personnel as it relates to COVID-19, as well as getting a lot of inside stories, security officers without proper PPE, security officers being sent home when they demand protection equipment. We've had two security officers now who have filed a lawsuit against their employer for not providing the proper PPE, personal protection equipment, which is required by federal law, by the way. OSHA does require that your employees, it doesn't matter if they are bakers, machinists, security officers, maintenance workers, or manufacturer help, it requires that they have the proper equipment and the proper training on the use of that equipment. And we're going to get into that a little bit today as we talk about OSHA and other state regulations that apply during this time and other times, as well as the issue that's going on right now with many frontline police and security officers who don't know if they're going to be paid if they get ill, because workers' compensation is really questionable during a time like this. We're going to get into that, and we're going to talk about what the law says about that and the steps to take if you do become infected and have to apply for those type of benefits. There's a lot of discussion across the country right now as to whether or not police officers, firefighters, and first responders will be included in their line of duty deaths should they die from COVID-19. And there are a lot of officers who are getting ill, both private and public, but right now we're talking law enforcement and first responders, and having to deal with not only the illness, but who's going to pay the bill, the medical bills. And just in the last couple of days, the state of Massachusetts, the state of Oklahoma, and Mississippi and Missouri have all come out with their own state law, a bill that has been passed that will cover any frontline worker who gets ill, firefighter, EMT paramedic, law enforcement. If they get ill, there will not be any question as to where they became contagious. There will not be any question as to having them prove that it was actually something that happened while they were on duty. And this is an issue across the country, unfortunately, that frontline workers is facing. And I can tell you, for somebody who has been out there for decades in these fields, it's not a good feeling to know that you're risking your life, that you're putting your life on the line, and nobody is overly concerned about what becomes of you, whether you get ill or die, and you have to fight. You have to go to battle all the time for your benefits. And private security is no different. I have seen, since we've had the association over the last 16 years, I have seen literally hundreds of cases where employers and their workers' comp did not cover the security officer's injury or illness because they said, oh, it didn't happen that way, it didn't happen on duty, it didn't do this, it didn't do that, and it's just a way for them to not have to pay the claim. And we're going to talk about that coming up. I can assure you there's a lot of concern, and we have a few answers, but there's still more areas that need to be addressed with this. Also this week, there's a lot of breaking news, as you can imagine, and a lot of things happening. The world has not stopped because of COVID-19. Our industry has not stopped because of COVID-19, although many people have been laid off. Dozens and dozens of security companies have lost a lot of hours since many companies are closed down, but there are other security companies that are finding ways to stay open. And we're going to talk about that coming up in the next segment. A lot to talk about, and if you'd like to send us information about what's happening in your neck of the woods, what is your security company seeing? What have they done for PPE? Have they retained most of the clients? Have they had an uptick in job hours, a reduction? What's happening? We want to know. Send us an email, helpdesk@privateofficer.com. helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Also, if you're not getting our breaking news, you obviously need to, because that's where you're going to have in your mailbox all of the important breaking news happening, and also officer down reports, upcoming training calendars, and a whole lot more. Go to our website, privateofficer.org. A box will drop down. You can sign up for those breaking news. There's no cost, and we're not sending out a dozen a day. We're sending out only the most important breaking news that we know you're going to want to see. privateofficer.org. Sign up there today. And if you're not already a member, please go to our page and become a member today. More than 45 member benefits, and we're here 24/7. Our help desk is available anytime that you need them. You have a question, you need assistance of any type, contact helpdesk@privateofficer.com. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. We never sleep, and we're always here for you. We have a lot to talk about, and when we come back from this first break, we want to talk a little bit about what's happening on the front line that we're hearing about. We want to talk about some things coming up, and we're also going to go over some news. And, of course, COVID-19 is the topic of the day every day, and probably will be for some time. If you're in the Charlotte, North Carolina metropolitan area, South Carolina, over in York County, Lancaster County, be sure to check out our friends at Premier Training Academy in Charlotte. Premier Training Academy, we offer frontline security for North Carolina Protection Board. We offer the SLED classes, unarmed and armed, as well as first aid and CPR, and many other courses right here at Premier Training Academy. Call our friend John and tell him that Private Officer sent you. Check them out today, Premier Training Academy. We'll be right back. You're listening to that Private Officer Beat.
Human trafficking is slavery.
And it happens all over America.
Any child, any woman, any man could potentially become a victim of human trafficking.
I am a victim of labor trafficking.
I was victim of child sex trafficking, but now I own my body.
Human trafficking is any kind of forced labor.
It can happen to anybody.
I am a mother.
I am an author.
I am a son.
I'm an advocate.
I am an educator.
I'm a sister.
I am a brother.
I'm so much more than what happened to me.
I am strong.
I am brave.
I am outspoken.
I am compassionate.
I am a survivor.
I'm a survivor.
I am a survivor.
I am a survivor.
I am a survivor.
I am a survivor of human trafficking.
Everyone, you're listening to the voice of the Frontline Protector right here on the Private Officer Radio Network. Now, don't go away because we are coming right back when we've got a whole lot more right here on the Private Officer Beat Radio. At Armor College, a public safety institute, we train those who help others. Paramedics and emergency medical technicians, firefighters, police officers, law enforcement, private security, bail enforcement, and those on the front line. Check us out today at armorcollege.org. ARMOUR college.org. We'll even bring the school to you. Armor College, a public safety institute. All right, welcome back to the Private Officer Beat Radio. A lot of things happening across the country right now, and what we're seeing, and we're hoping that you all can tell us what you're seeing, so that we can get this news out to our members and others in the industry. But what we're seeing in the last couple of weeks, we're starting to see more and more burglaries of commercial businesses, shopping malls, retail stores. We're seeing a lot more push-outs. Those are when people go into places like a big box store, Target, Walmart, Costco, and they're taking large amounts of merchandise right there in the shopping cart, in large bags, and they're just pushing their way through the door. We had an incident just in the last 2 days where a security officer at a Walmart was injured as 3 people loaded up an empty box of high-end merchandise, drills and electronics and so forth, and pushed their way through the door. We've seen right now 13 shopping malls have been broken into. We've seen jewelry stores, a lot of different businesses that are closed because of COVID-19 being burglarized. Some of those businesses do have security personnel on duty. At some of the mall burglaries, they had on-duty security. Unfortunately, they were unarmed security officers and unable to stop the burglars. In fact, in 2 situations, security officers were injured. We're also seeing more and more theft, shoplifting from pharmacies and places that are open. those businesses now experiencing a large uptick because they know, these thieves know that the employees are not going to stop them. Security, they're unarmed and they're not going to stop them. And obviously, law enforcement has their hands tied up with other things, and so it's becoming a free-for-all across the country. We're notating the locations. We noticed just in the last 24 hours in California, they've made 17 arrests for this type of activity. Florida, over the last 2 or 3 weeks, they've made several dozen arrests themselves, and other agencies are now reporting it as well. We really want unarmed security personnel to be good observers. We don't necessarily want them to intervene. If there are 3 and 4 thieves, burglars, people that may be armed, it would be impossible to stop them if you are one person and unarmed. Take notes, take a license plate, get the descriptions, call police, and get, in a place of that's going to be secure for yourself. And unfortunately, that's all that you can do if you're unarmed. We're seeing, and it's expected to be even worse over the next couple of weeks, and we're seeing that happening. So if you are on duty in a retail environment or a business that's closed, we ask that you really take all precautions possible, that you stay alert, have that situational awareness about you, and don't try to be John Wayne or take unnecessary risk, but be a good observer and make sure that you have law enforcement on the way. A lot of times in these situations, whether it be a natural disaster like Katrina that happened in New Orleans or other places, we see all the time people taking advantage of the situation. And we also see a higher number of security officers injured during this time. Be careful, be alert, and try to stay safe during these situations. Expect them. Don't be caught off guard. Talking about the number of injuries and deaths of security personnel right now, we have confirmed 34 security officer deaths. 34 security officer deaths as of today from COVID-19. And they range from people that were in their 30s to people in their 70s working in retail security. Several were in school security. In fact, 4 were in school security positions. We had 8 federal court security officers. We've had 1 TSA canine security agent. So as you can see, they come from all areas of private security. Law enforcement is reporting right now 39 deaths related to COVID, and we're monitoring that very closely and those statistics very closely. We're finding that many of the deaths of law enforcement and many of the deaths of security are occurring parallel to each other in the same locations. Right now, New York City is leading the death tally for police and security. Florida, Michigan, California. We've had 2 in Washington State. We've had 1 in Ohio. We have, like I said, been trying to verify these very, very close, and that's not easy to do. But we're on top of it 24 hours a day, and we hope to have definitive statistics of the deaths and the illnesses at the end of this whole situation. This just came in a short time ago. The Department of Justice has officially said, thanks to President Trump, all officers, firefighters, paramedics, EMTs, and public servants who lose their lives because of COVID-19 COVID-19, their families will receive the line of duty death benefits that are administered by the Department of Justice. And that's a good thing. Up until this point, individual departments were having to make their own determination as to whether or not this was truly an on-duty death or something that they may have picked up when they were shopping at the Walmart or when they were out doing errands or maybe from a family member or who knows what. They were having to prove, the families were having to prove that their loved one lost their life because of this disease that occurred during off-duty hours. Well, now the president has authorized the Department of Justice, who administers the line of duty deaths, that all first responders will be covered. Unfortunately, it does not cover private security. It does not cover private police officers. We've had this discussion with the Department of Justice, and we've even met with them on 2 occasions to try to get private police officers, sworn police officers, covered. Those police officers, believe it or not, include some of the largest schools, universities in the country. Schools like MIT, Vanderbilt University, they're not covered because they're private schools. If they were part of a state university system, such as the University of Tennessee, the University of Maryland, then they would be covered because they're considered a public law enforcement officer and not a private law enforcement officer. The only difference, folks, it's not the authority, it's not the amount of training, it's not the status. The only difference is that one works for the government, whether that's county, state, or federal, and the other works for a private entity such as Vanderbilt and other large colleges not affiliated with a state college university system. We spoke with the Department of Justice to get these officers included. We've had, in the last 5 years, multiple situations where private police officers were gunned down. We had one last year in D.C. where private police officer in a marked patrol car en route to a call, stopped at a red light, and he was shot to death. It made the local headlines. It didn't make the national headlines because they don't consider them police officers, but they are. And we've talked with DOJ to try and get them in. And, of course, this is a situation where we have to talk with our state representatives and senators and get them on board so that the law can be changed to include private police officers killed in the line of duty. Unfortunately, that is a big task, and we've been working on it for 4.5 years, and we'll continue to work on it. We've talked to state legislators, we've talked to U.S. senators, we've talked with a lot of people over the years, and it's still just it's not a done deal. It's still in the conversation stage, unfortunately. When we come back, we want to talk about PPE. We want to talk about state regulations. And, of course, we have a whole lot of news as well. If you're looking for body armor, if you're looking for protective gear, protective wear, check out our friends at Body Armor USA because they've got what it takes to protect you. It doesn't matter if you're looking for stab-resistant vests, body armor, protective clothing, gloves. Hey, Body Armor USA, check them out online and make sure that you tell them POI sent you. We'll be right back after these messages. We're not going to be very long. 2 minutes. We're coming right back.
Slow down.
And move over.
When you see lights, vests,
or reflectors, please give us some room. Slow down.
And move over.
We look out for you.
So look out for us.
Please.
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 Slow down. And move over.
It's the law.
It's the law. It's the law.
If you're not already receiving breaking news and our bi-weekly newsletter, officer down reports, and discount training news in your personal or business email, then go to our website right now at privateofficer.org. privateofficer.org. A Dropbox will come down. Just fill out your info, and you'll be the first, one of the first, for sure, to know about what's happening in the security industry. You'll know when a security officer is killed. You'll also get these great discounts on training and equipment and so much more. privateofficer.org. And if you're not already a member of the Private Officer International Association, sign up while you're there today. Become a lifetime member for just $99, and we'll also include a free Private Officer International patch and lapel pin. If you are already a member, that's great, and we appreciate you. We'd like for you to spread the news and tell your coworkers, employees, and others in the industry about the Private Officer Group and how they can become a member and enjoy more than 40 member benefits. Last week we announced that our awards committee and one of our lifetime members came up with a great idea. And that idea was really to recognize in a very classy way all of those private and public officers who are out there on the front line every day during this COVID-19 virus situation, and really reward them for their dedication during this time, for their bravery during this time, because just being out there is life-threatening. Many people haven't taken this serious, and I'm not going to go into all of the pluses and minuses of this whole COVID-19. You see the death counts every day. You understand that a lot of people are becoming ill. And so we've decided to recognize those law enforcement and private security personnel that are working out there trying to keep everybody safe while trying to keep themselves safe. So we have commissioned a COVID-19 uniform award bar and commendation letter. In about a week or so, check out our website at privateofficer.org, and there's a short application process. Complete that. It will go to our award committee for final signatures and approval, and you'll receive this. There's no cost to you, and this is going to be open to members of the association as well as non-members, law enforcement, and others in the public safety community. The only thing that I want to tell you about this is that we're going to take care of our members first. They are top of the list. We're going to take care of them first, and we've commissioned the manufacturing of a bar to put on your uniform, and that's going to take 6 to 8 weeks. In fact, the manufacturer said they're not even running anything right now. They will, in the next few weeks, begin opening up manufacturing. But so this is not going to be an overnight situation, but it will come to fruition. And we want all of our members to be taken care of and recognized, and then everyone else who has applied for the award. It's going to be an award certificate and a uniform bar. There are a couple of criteria, but all that is available or will be available on our website at privateofficer.org. Please don't call our office like some people already have. All of this is not yet available. It will be in about a week. The process will begin. Again, go to our website in about a week, privateofficer.org, and there'll be a link for you to go through a very small application process to begin being recognized for your service. Also, during this time of the year, every year we do our annual Private Officer Award presentations. That has been put on hold. We will get to that probably in late summer or possibly even early fall, around the time that we do our annual Private Officer Memorial Services. But we'll be announcing that. The best way to keep ahead and to get the news, of course, is go to our website at privateofficer.org, sign up for breaking news today, and that way, every time we communicate this information, you'll be one of the first to know. That's how we communicate with our members, our followers, and everybody else interested in what's going on with Private Officer International. We do it through email. So if you're not receiving our breaking news, I encourage you to go to our website at privateofficer.org and sign up today. We have a lot of positions available right now. We're hiring DCJS firearm instructors in Virginia for Hampton Roads and Northern Virginia. You have to be a current certified firearms instructor, at least 3 years experience. We are hiring North Carolina PPS armed security instructors, 3 years experience, flexible hours, excellent pay. We're also looking for lifeguard and first aid and CPR instructors in Virginia, North and South Carolina, and Alabama. Send your resume, Carrie, C-A-R-R-I-E, at Armour, A-R-M-O-U-R, college.org, and you're going to get an immediate interview within a couple of days. We have other positions as well. Go to our website at armourcollege.org or privateofficer.org, and there's at least 30 positions available throughout the Southeast. We're going to take another quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about if you get sick, if, God forbid, you lose your life, who's responsible, and how your family can collect benefits. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Private Officer Beat Radio.
It's a very simple thing. It only takes 2 seconds. We all know we should do it. We all say we do it. But do we? About 35,000 people were killed in motor vehicle accidents last year. More than half were not wearing a seatbelt. A brother, a father, a mother, a best friend. Is it worth it? I lost a sister. Don't let it happen to you and your family. Tell the people you love to buckle up.
All right, we're over here at the news desk this morning, and always a lot of breaking news coming in the office. It doesn't matter the season. It doesn't matter that there's a pandemic. Even during 9/11, there were a lot of crimes happening across the country. The world didn't stop. And obviously, during this time, as devastating as it's been for many areas, criminals take advantage of that. News keeps happening. The world keeps turning, and that's just life. And so we have a lot of breaking news for you over here at the news desk this morning. And by the way, if you're not already receiving our breaking news, you want them, you need them, and many people use them for training and for educating their employees, and it's just a good way to stay on top of the news happening in public safety and our security industry. So go to our website, privateofficer.org. Sign up today. As soon as you get there, a box will drop down. Simply fill in your information. We don't sell your information. We don't trade your information. It's secure. You'll receive breaking news and officer down reports and upcoming training notices right there in your email, privateofficer.org. It's free. And while you're there, if you're not already a member, support us. Support the things that we do for the industry. Become a member today. You can become a lifetime member for just $99 right now. That's $60 off the regular price. Privateofficer.org. Go, become a member, sign up for breaking news, and be an active member. Become part of our committees, our programs, and training opportunities. Privateofficer.org. Across the country, we're seeing in the last 2 weeks people really taking advantage of the store closures. So many stores are boarded up, and now police are starting to see the criminals really take part in breaking into those places. In Modesto, California, police there have arrested 17 people for breaking in various stores during this pandemic time and robbing them. In one situation, they took $115,000 of merchandise. 17 people now in custody. In New York, 2 men broke into a jewelry store and stole $123,000 worth of jewelry there. And we're seeing that happen a lot more often. Police in Oregon, in Medford, Oregon, said they arrested 2 men for assaulting security during a shoplifting incident, and they tried to get away. Police took them into custody a short time later. Veterans Affairs Police in Reno, Nevada report they arrested a man for stealing 200 surgical masks from the Veteran Medical Center there. VA police caught the man on surveillance, caught him red-handed. The hospital told police it had just ordered 94,000 masks. We're seeing this happening. In fact, a public safety director at the New Orleans Convention Center was arrested for doing the same thing, going into a hospital and stealing protective PPE. Police say that they have charged a man with trafficking stolen property. Police are looking for several others involved. Another man, this one in Newark, New Jersey, was just sentenced to 73 months in prison for leading an organized retail crime ring and also trafficking in 114 stolen credit cards. The Department of Justice, we told you a few minutes ago, they have made available the death benefits for officers who died during this time, and they have put out a news broadcast, a news release, letting officers know what is the method of reporting and the protocol for this. In Chicago, Illinois, a security officer on a train, a security officer working security for the MTA, the Metropolitan Transit Authority, accidentally shot himself and a 16-year-old girl during an altercation on the Red Line Thursday morning at around 4 a.m. The security officer was investigating a suspicious person. The security officer got into a struggle and a gun in his pocket went off. Now, authorities say he was not supposed to be carrying the gun, He's currently under investigation. Both he and the 16-year-old girl were transported to the hospital, and they're going to be okay, but the security officer looks like he may be in some hot water. Indianapolis Metropolitan Police announced an officer down, killed in the line of duty. Officer Brianne Leith of the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department. She was just 24, been on the job for 3 years. She went to a call around 3 p.m. Thursday. This was a domestic type call, and one of the subjects involved fired, hitting the girlfriend and hitting the police officer, and she succumbed to her injuries. Out of Kentucky, another officer down report, Detective James Kirk, responding to assist officers struggling with a suspect, had a heart attack and died. Terrible, tragic. He was a young 34 years old. Ohio also reporting an officer down. An Ohio corrections officer died from the COVID-19. Authorities there said he had been working in the correctional facilities prior to his illness. In Detroit, police are reporting that they are understaffed as a large percent of their department is out with the COVID-19, and the rise in crime continues there in Detroit. They said violence crime is up by 14%. The Detroit Police Department has 2,500 officers, but they are down almost 30%, and criminals are taking advantage of that situation, police say. Also in the news this week, coming out of Fountain Valley, California, a hospital nurse there subdued a man who fired a gun. It was a flare gun in the hospital. He also had a replica firearm that he pointed at security. A nurse saw what was happening and took the man down, and he's in police custody. Coming out of Hope Howell, New Jersey, police there say that how police responded to a theft in progress, got into a struggle with several men attempting to steal $2,000 in power tools. Some shoppers got involved and helped police, but now they found out that one of the men that was involved in the theft was actually COVID positive. And now police and the Good Samaritans also are now quarantined because they may have been infected. Police and security responded to a shooting in the parking lot of a Michigan Walmart. Police say they found a man dead inside. They don't know if it's a suicide. They don't know if it's a murder. That's under investigation. Police in Woodbridge, Virginia, responded to a call by security asking for help. 2 armed men held knives to the security officer's throat during a disturbance. Police responded. Officers soon rounded up Anthony Langhorn and another man and charged them in the incident. The security officers both were injured and did go to a local hospital. In Odessa, Texas, police there have arrested a security officer who portrayed herself to be a police officer at an alcohol store. This is just unbelievable, really. Edna Rodriguez, 53, a armed security guard certified in Texas, flashed a badge after the liquor store was closed. She said she was undercover and she was buying liquor for part of her undercover assignment. The manager of the store sold her the liquor and then realized that she wasn't a police officer. She's been charged with 2 counts of impersonating law enforcement. TSA said that they have screened a record low this week. They said 100,000 approximately 100,000 travelers. That's down 95% from the normal 2.1 million travelers. And as we know, trains, airplanes, buses, they've all been dramatically reduced in the number of trips and the number of flights, and probably for another few weeks. In Jacksonville, Florida, authorities there say that two TSA security officers, two more TSA security officers tested positive for the COVID-19. And in Orlando, Florida, 11 security officers tested positive. And the TSA announced a few days ago they have 85 of their personnel that have been infected by COVID. Coming out of New York City, authorities with the Transit Authority said 41 of their employees died of COVID-19. 41. And among the 41, 2 were security officers. The New York Transit Authority has not released the names of those security officers or the other 32 people dead, but they are going to later next week, they said. And when they do, we'll be sure to make those announcements as well. We also learned that a security officer who was a former law enforcement officer in Indiana died of COVID-19. He worked at a casino. Authorities said that Norbert Bostock died Tuesday of COVID-19. He had been employed with the New Albany Police Department, and at the time of his death, he was a security officer at the Caesars Riverboat Casino. We have, unfortunately, as we stated earlier, we have confirmed 35 security officers now dead, more than 350 infected with COVID-19. We know that number is going to rise substantially, and we'll keep you updated as soon as we learn additional information. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we want to talk about workers' compensation. We want to talk about how to make a claim of an illness, which is much different than an actual injury that can be substantiated and frequently witnessed. But with an illness, this is something that they have to take your word for, that it was contracted on the job. We'll be right back after these messages.
Nurse, I need you to apply pressure to the head wound until I can get to it. I'm concerned she's lost too much blood.
Oh, no.
You in the corner, who are you? You're not supposed to be here.
She's my girlfriend, Doctor.
You need to wait out in the waiting room.
Please, Doctor, I want to stay with her.
Look, she's been badly injured. So if you want to do what's best for her, you need to let us do our work.
Please, Doctor, she has to be okay. I didn't mean to do this. I love her.
Wait a second. You were the driver?
Yes, but I didn't mean to. I swear, we went to dinner. I was just buzzed. I only had a few drinks.
Just buzzed? Why didn't you tell us that? In that case, your girlfriend is fine.
Hey, sweetie. I feel great. You want to get out of here?
I can't believe this. Really, Doctor? She's really okay?
What, are you kidding? No, not really. Nurse, get me a suture kit. Stat.
Buzzed driving. Maybe we should stop acting like it's no big deal. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A public service.
For some children, America isn't the land of promise. It's a place where every day is a struggle. Because today in America, 1 in 6 children lives below the poverty line. For these children, living in poverty means going without medicine, going without food, going without a warm home, or even a roof over your head. And that's life for nearly 13 million children of all races, all across America. Where will you draw the line and get involved? You can help these children and their families find a way out of poverty for good. And you can make a difference in more ways than you think. Will you help? Go to povertyusa.org today. Because 1 in 6 children in poverty is one too many.
I'm out there in the field. I'm working in an environment where there's a virus. unlike the flu, there's better than a 70% chance that this virus is going to put me down for weeks and maybe even take my life. Now, if this happens and you're working, whether it be for a big box retailer or private security, how can you get covered? How can you pay your medical bills? God forbid that you lose your life. How will your family be able to afford the funeral, the other cost? Here in the United States, almost every state mandates that employers carry workers' compensation insurance. We've talked about this before, but this is an insurance mandated to protect employees who become ill or injured. Many times we've talked about becoming injured on the job, whether you have fallen and broken your leg and arm, or you've been stabbed or shot or beaten to death, half to death. This is the insurance that employers pay to make sure that you're covered, that your medical bills are covered. So what does workers' compensation cover? It covers in most states approximately 70% of your weekly salary. So if you are paid $1,000, then you would be probably paid around $700 a week while you are recuperating at home. Workers' compensation insurance also covers 100% of all medical bills, your hospital bills, your doctor's bill, any rehab that you have to do, medications, your ambulance trip to the hospital. It covers anything associated with that injury or illness. Unlike an injury that you can see and substantiate that it was something that happened at work, this COVID-19 has opened up a pandemic's door of the pandemic door of questionable contact. The pandemic is everywhere, worldwide, many countries, all across the U.S. Very few states have escaped it. But the question that insurers have is, was this virus, was this illness something that you were infected with while on the job, or were you out grocery shopping? Were you with family? Were you doing something that you weren't supposed to, like that church over the weekend that had 400 people all sitting next to each other? There's a lot of question as to whether or not insurance companies will cover illnesses or deaths relating to COVID-19. The burden of proof is really on you, the insured person, and there's going to be plenty of rejections from insurance companies. They don't want to pay millions of claims or hundreds of thousands of claims, so they're going to deny those claims, and you're going to have to appeal those claims. And unless your employer can say, yes, this was job-related, yes, he was working 80 hours a week, and there's no way he was infected elsewhere, and they go to bat for you, then there's probably going to be a problem. There have been already some lawsuits filed. But here are some recommendations from a workers' comp lawyer in North Carolina. This is what he said recently during a online seminar or Q&A that he did. And this is what he recommends. First of all, keep record of all the hours that you work, where you are working. If there are people around you, how many? Was there hundreds and thousands? Were there dozens? Were there just 2 people that you were working with? Also, make sure that you keep a record whether or not PPE, personal protective equipment, was issued to you by your employer and whether or not you wore it. It's very important that if your employer does issue you that equipment, that you wear it, and you wear it every time you're on duty for the duration of that shift. And if you don't, then you may have a problem getting workers' comp should you become ill. Another thing that the attorney recommends is that you follow all CDC protocols. Wash your hands, wear a mask, check your temperature every day, even if your employer doesn't. Don't just touch your head, because a lot of times that's not a good indication of whether or not you have a true fever or not. But you can get a cheap thermometer and check it before you go to work. Also, keep a record every day what your temperature was. Keep a record every day of where you went. Were you not at work that day? What did you do? Where did you go? What environment were you in? The attorney also recommends that you obey the stay-at-home orders. Almost every state now has a stay-at-home order. The only time that you can go out is to work, to do grocery shopping, go to the doctors, and a few other important errands that have to be done. Washing your car, going to a friend's house to have your hair cut, that's not a necessity. I mean, it is, technically, but it's not recognized in most states. Follow the stay-at-home orders. Stay home as much as possible. And this is a very key recommendation. He says, do not post on social media. Don't post with other people. Don't post pictures of you at a birthday party. Don't post pictures of you outside playing basketball with 4 others. Don't put on Facebook or Twitter or Tumblr or any other social media pictures of you having a good time, hanging out. That right there, during a workers' comp investigation, that's going to come to light, and that's going to be used against you as a denial. So here's what you need to do during this time to ensure that if you become ill, that you'll be one of those claimants who gets approved for workers' comp. 1, stay low-key. 2, make sure you follow all CDC procedures and protocols. 3, wear protective equipment if your employer gives it to you or not. 4, make sure that you document where you are, what your job site is, how many people are around. 5, and this is very important, don't go anyplace, don't do anything that is not legal for you. We've had a lot of situations where people are disobeying the stay-at-home. We've had a lot of situations just this week in Charlotte, North Carolina, Mecklenburg County. They had to physically lock down the parks because people continue to group up. People continue to do everything other than what the order permitted. And beaches in Florida and Alabama, Texas, and the West Coast, same thing. They are not allowing people on the beach. And so make sure you follow the rules and the laws. And if you become ill, make sure that you have a good folder of documentation to show that you did everything right and that you were not out there in an area where you could be receptive to receiving this COVID-19. It is unfortunate that some people will die, and 34 security officers have already, at least 34 security officers have already died that we have confirmed. You, unfortunately, if you're working on the front line, you're putting your life on the line. And so we want to make sure that if something happens to you and you pass away, that your family receives the workers' comp benefits and that if your company has life insurance, or if you have life insurance, that you receive that and that it's not denied. If you're a member of Private Officer International, you can always contact helpdesk at privateofficer.com, helpdesk at privateofficer.com. If you have more questions about workers' comp or insurance, how it works, anything that we can do to help you out during this time, we are here 24/7. That's going to wrap up this edition of the Private Officer Beat Radio. Thank you for being with us. We want you to stay safe. We want your family to stay safe. And most of all, we want to get through this all together. Until the next time, be blessed, be safe, and we'll see you back here on the radio.